Good morning and welcome back to Allotment Diaries with me, Rachel from I Planted That. You're watching the Virtual Village Hall. It's been a busy month on the plot with a mix of practical jobs and also planning for the months ahead. In this episode, I'll be earthing up the first early potatoes in the greenhouse, potting on those tomato seedlings, and also I let you know about a seed swap that I helped organise in a red foam box that also acts as an art gallery. If you follow me on social media, then you may have seen that I've teamed up with the Virtual Village Hall for a giant pumpkin grow along. Here's mine. I sowed the seed back in early April. I watered it, it's germinated, I'm keeping it light, I'm keeping it in a light place and keeping it warm for the next stage where I can pot it on. If you'd like to join in, it's not too late. You'll just need to get these few items together: a small pot, multi-purpose compost and the seeds. Make sure they're one of the giant pumpkin varieties. And as long as you sow by mid-May, then you should have a giant pumpkin by autumn as well. Now, it's not just veg that I grow on my allotment. Last year I started a cut flower garden and I've got bigger plans for 2025. Let's take a look. The patch I've set aside is about 3 metres by 3 metres. And at the end of last year's growing season, I cleared away the old flower stems and added a thick layer of well-rotted compost straight from my own compost bins. That's helped improve the soil, add nutrients, and most importantly for me, get the weeds down over the winter. If you're thinking about starting your own cut flower garden, here are a few things to consider when planning what to grow. First, colour. Think about the colours that you love, whether that's soft, harmonious pastels or bold, contrasting shades. This will help when putting together little bunches to bring indoors or to give away. Next, don't forget foliage. Every good florist has a mix of greenery to set the flowers off. You might already have some useful foliage in your garden without realising. Things like ivy, scented herbs like this fennel, even large leaves like chard can work really well. I've also used Jerusalem artichoke leaves in my arrangements. They've got a great shape, lovely green, and the sunflower-like flowers that appear later in the season are a great bonus. Seed swaps are a great place to find seeds and pass yours on. Earlier this year, I helped organise the seed swap at Medway Art Box, which is an old red telephone box that's been turned into a tiny art gallery and community space. Because it's an art space, we wanted to make it look a bit special, so created a display shaped like a beanpole teepee. We made our own seed packets, which we decorated and filled with all sorts of veg and flowers. Loads of people got involved, adding their own packets and taking a few away. I swapped some cosmic purple carrot seeds for more flower seeds that I'll be adding to the cut flower garden. So I've now got lots of annual flowers that only last a year. So I'm going to be putting some perennials in too, like dahlias, which with a little bit of protection from the cold will come up every year. This covered bed hasn't been used for a couple of years, so I've started loosening the soil and adding more compost to get it ready for the dahlias, which I'll be planting here. At the moment, the dahlia tubers are still in the greenhouse. I potted them up when they arrived back in January and they've now started sprouting. I'll wait a little bit longer, just until all the risk of frost has passed, and then I'll get them planted out in the cutting patch. While I'm here in the greenhouse, I'll also sow some more flower seeds. I've already got a few coming up: Cosmos, Ami Major. Now, I don't direct sow anything in the cut flower garden. I prefer to start them off in trays and then pot them on when they get bigger to harden off. Also in the greenhouse this month, the tomatoes. These were started off at home on my windowsill back in January, and now they're ready to be potted on, and now that they're bigger and that I can handle them easily. And potting on just means moving them into bigger pots so they've got more space for their roots to grow. Now that the weather's warming up, I can leave them in the greenhouse to keep my windowsills clear at home, and they'll carry on growing. Now once they're big enough, I'll plant some of them outside, but I like to keep a few in the greenhouse too, which usually means earlier tomatoes and a little bit of protection from blight. You may remember I put a few early potatoes in bags in the greenhouse back in January too. They've been coming on nicely, so it's time to start earthing them up. That just means adding more compost around the stems as they grow. I usually do this once the shoots are about 15 to 20 centimetres tall. This helps protect any developing potatoes from the light, which can turn them green, and encourages the plants to produce more tubers along the stem. I've been keeping them well watered and giving them the occasional feed with my homemade fertiliser. Flower buds are already starting to appear, which when I got my first allotment nearly 20 years ago, one of the older gentlemen on the site told me that flowers are a sign they're producing potatoes underground. The potatoes I planted directly in the ground last month are starting to poke through. It's always exciting to see those first leaves, but I'm keeping an eye on the forecast in case there's a risk of frost. Thank you for joining me on Allotment Diaries today. The coming month is all about keeping those seedlings safe from the pests. So as the fresh new growth continues, I'm going to be trying out some organic slug methods, deterrents, to keep those slugs at bay and keep the plants safe. I'm also going to be putting in a successional sowing plan with the idea that I'll be able to harvest things like salad, beetroot, beans right through the season and into autumn until the first frosts. So join me next time. Thanks so much. Happy gardening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.